What's up, guys? Welcome to A Vibe Call West Radio. Today we have a very special guest, MC Bravado. What's going on, man? How you doing today?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Thanks so much for taking the time on your Tuesday to pop by and talk with us.
I'm stoked.
Yeah, I want to bring up really quick because I know that you've moved around a little bit, but your parents are from the Bronx, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's funny. My grandma's from the Bronx. My dad's from Queens. My mom's from Brooklyn. So I kind of get that kind of energy, that New York energy. My friends from LA. I'm from LA now, but they always laugh at just like there's a difference in that kind of energy and the tone of their voice.
Yeah, dude, 1000%. I mean, the especially like East Coast versus West Coast. I remember doing I was fortunate enough to do some touring, and the energy out west is totally different. And every now and again, I like getting out there for. It's almost like a cleanse of sorts. It's a different energy. Like I'm an East Coast guy, and I love it out here. But I appreciate the vibe out west as well. But yeah, my parents are both Bronx babies. And then I've been in Baltimore for about a decade, so definitely immersed in the grit and the cold winter.
Seriously, so different. I mean, like right now it's raining in Venice and like everyone's freaking out. So we're not equipped like you guys. It's a transition, but and then so I know that you really started rapping. The transition was junior year. You were figuring out that maybe basketball, you have a passion for it, but there's maybe something that's more linear that you could do with music. That's correct, right?
Yeah, like a lot of kids, I played basketball in school, sports in school, and I was all right, but I didn't see eye to eye with the coach, which was one thing. But then beyond that, I was like, it hit me at some point, like, bro, you're not gonna go to the NBA. You're like 6 foot, 5'11", if people want to be a dick about it. Your vert is not that. You're not athletic enough. And still love the NBA and love basketball from afar, but hip hop became that outlet, and also that thing that I got to a point was like, you are good enough, to do this professionally. So yeah, it all started bubbling back then, but I got more serious as the years, progressed.
Yeah, naturally, it starts getting more and more real. And then, it's so funny. I saw that you say that like Jordan is the GOAT. It's not a fact. I mean, it's a fact. It's not an opinion.
I feel pretty strongly about it.
But I want to add, but you have a song, LeBron poster. Why not Jordan poster?
I do. So here's the thing. I love LeBron too and what he's done. A lot of your big LeBron fans will think someone's a hater just because they don't have LeBron as their number one. I have LeBron as my number two. But it's also this idea that with LeBron poster, I'm largely like internally motivated, right? I mean, there in the industry today, there's a lot of fabrication that happens when it comes to numbers or who's doing what, and a lot of noise. And there is that old like saying that like comparisons the thief of joy. So I try
Mm-hmm.
to not compare myself as much to my peers as to like the legacies that I'm chasing. And I think like I have a bar in the song about that, but I don't think LeBron really weighs himself against the noise happening in the media or even the players he plays against as much as he respects them. Like he's chasing a ghost, he's chasing this almost uncatchable thing. And that's kind of what I try to do as an MC. I'm not really trying to like say so and so just did this, so I have to top it. I'm trying to almost push myself to a level that might be impossible. And I think if I'm chasing like something that I can't really touch, that's the best way to do it, if that makes sense.
100%. It's great imagery and like great. It's a great comparison. And yeah, I mean, spoken from the words of LeBron, he is chasing that ghost. And I love the analogy that you're portraying with you chasing the people that you probably look up to in music, which we're gonna dive into. One of them probably being Jay-Z, as
Yes.
spoke about
Love
the
hope.
album. Yeah, and then before we dive into the album, I do want to say congrats on 8 a.m. in Baltimore.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're hitting these like every these monthly releases, bro. I got through all of 2013, dropping at least a record a month, and we're gonna keep that energy going for 2024. And yeah, I was proud of that one. It started as like a freestyle over the Drake version, but then it evolved into like an original production. And yeah, it's fun. It's a cool record. People like it, so I'm
De-
happy. Appreciate you.
Definitely. Also, like Baltimore, is just like I don't know, like the name of that city just sounds gritty. Like just sound, it's a cool name for a track. So I like that a lot. And then I want to touch on actually what you said a little bit later because there is something about dropping music consistently. But before we do that, I want to break down kind of the structure for the new and old listeners. So the way prior to MC Bravado coming on the podcast, I asked him what his favorite album was. He told me incredible album, The Blueprint by Jay-Z. So what I did is I went on Spotify, seeded the songs 1 through 8 based on total number of streams, put that into a March Madness Elite 8 bracket to figure out what is MC Bravado's favorite song on The Blueprint. You ready to figure out what your favorite song on this album is?
Yeah, I think that's fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. So let's start off with the first matchup, which is the 1 vs 8, which is Renegade versus The Ruler's Back. Which song do you think should progress?
It's easy Renegade for sure. The Ruler's Back is a cool way to ride into it, and it's like triumphant, but Renegade is, kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah,
And yeah, so I could leave that at that.
yeah. There's definitely a mystique too. I think way Eminem produced it. Has a
One of his best beats for sure.
easily, dude. It's so sick, and his, you'll probably talk like his feature is fucking legendary. So I agree with you on that one. Renegade moving forward. Now let's go to the other side, the 2 vs 7, which is going to be Izzo Hova versus Takeover.
Takeover. I feel really strongly that okay, so historically when people talk about the beef, they say Nas won, which is accurate, but you gotta like look at it like that was three verses dedicated to Jay-Z that he had time to cook. Whereas with Takeover, Nas was like, he was going at multiple people. He went at Mobb Deep too, and
Yeah.
it is such a brilliant diss record. It might be my favorite, which is weird because it's like I think Nas quote unquote won with Ether, but I think Takeover. I mean, you're talking peak Kanye West production wise. Like what Jay did throw at Nas was unbelievable. Like even the Mobb Deep stuff was great. Like I don't know, it holds up for me. Peak Kanye. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a sample of the Doors as well. It's like a
it
crazy
is.
fucking sample. And then like I'm like a Nas stan, like truthfully, but
Love
you
Nas
know,
too.
I mean the line like one was odd, the other was Illmatic. That's one hot album every 10-year average. Is like fucking crazy. Like to me, that was like nail in the coffin. I agree that it put up a big fight. I don't think it's as one sided as people say. Totally agree with you.
Yeah,
Um,
Nas is unbelievable, bro. I mean, what he's doing now too, like
Second
this
Renaissance.
unbelievable, man. I'm a big Jay Z is my goat, but I'm telling people, I'm like, this is like Jordan coming back and doing another three-peat. Like Nas is like, I don't know, man. They're closer than ever, and I hope Hove is like low key motivated to do the same thing. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I think winning that Grammy for Nas was big, and then before 444 was incredible as the last album for him. So that's like that's a good mystique. But I agree, man. The second renaissance of Nas's career is fucking ridiculous. Like the magic, yeah, it's crazy. So awesome. We're talking about a really great album, but now I want to focus on a great artist, which is you, and just kind of ask
Appreciate that.
you some questions with some research I did. So to me, I think as you've probably done in other interviews, it's clear that the origin story of your career is how you left a decade of teaching to go on the Vans Warped Tour in 2018. I want to ask, are you still connected to any of the fans who you gave your card to while selling them Cool Suppliers ice cream?
That's a great question. Shout out Cool Suppliers. Timmy Grant's one of the most inspiring hustlers just ever, man. I talked to that guy for 5 minutes, and you could run through a fucking brick wall. But only on Instagram. There are a few that I will like recognize because I pay attention with who interacts and stuff. I don't. I know some of them are subscribed to my newsletter and things like that, which I have not sent in a while. I'm slacking on. But I no, I don't. I haven't maintained any direct like I met you on Warp Tour fan connections. People who I met there that were working for other bands or that were anyone I was traveling in that RV with that summer. I met like it was like getting married in Vegas. Like I flew to LA and like hopped in an RV with 8 strangers. It was like some real world shit, but um, those people became my family, and I'm still in contact with most of them.
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, I remember. Yeah, you said the real world thing. It's so true. Like that's a crazy experience. And speaking and kind of keeping with that, you that's 40 different shows, 40 different cities. And I think that's crazy. That's 40 different audiences. So, what advice would you give a budding artist on how to engage a crowd that may not know who they are?
If you're an MC, freestyle, um, because people love when it's a moment, when a moment is happening.
Mm,
And if they can see that in that moment you're trying to connect by talking about them or what they're wearing or something current, they are more likely to stick around and give it a shot. Also, be vocal, like about them giving you a chance. Be humble. Be like, invite them to get closer and make it kind of as intimate as you can. Don't be like too cool. I think with a lot of rappers, especially, it's like I'm not performing for an arena, so I'm gonna be uh kind of on this half-assed, I barely want to be here tip. Like
mm-hmm,
it can sound cliche, but you have to give the same. I can say with all of my being, I give the same energy for 10 that I give for, 1,000. Like no matter what, if I'm up there, like I'm going.
mm-hmm,
So I think people, not I think, people can feel that. People know. So give all of yourself, be yourself, make it spontaneous, make it a moment that is a one of one moment. Because even to keep fans that you have coming back, like every show has to be a unique experience and a one of one. So I
mm-hmm,
think own that.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. That's great advice and a great answer. And like, I think one, sometimes I feel like artists are like selfish with their performances where they want to perform what they want. But I think kind of like what you're saying is like allow like the crowd, like interact with the crowd and like make them feel like they're a part of the moment. Like you're not up there, don't just like sing your songs, like connect with them. And I think that's like very important. Because I think some artists just go up there and like perform the songs they want and like don't interact, you know? So that's
They're your
good.
lifeline, bro. Like they're your lifeline. And I think in this digital world too, like with a lot of these younger artists, like this is the world they know. So a lot of the boots on the ground really, like you were talking about Warped Tour, like handing out cards. Like I'm selling these like push pop, they're delicious by the way, but like I'm selling these push pop vegan ices and 100. I got heat exhaustion literally in Vegas. Like got heat exhaustion, had to get sat down in the tent and like prop back up to finish the day of work. But like it humbled the hell out of me, dude, because I had some big performances with some big acts before I left, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm on now." But no, man, my ass was in the heat like all day selling these things, and I would only stop to perform. But
Mm-hmm.
like selling those things made me money, kept me on the tour, and then I would get my set every day. But like I dropped the freezer bag and like pick up the mic, and it was hella grassroots. And I don't think a lot of artists today get that experience. A lot of these kids can do a freestyle on an on the radar, a big platform, and it's like right into stardom or like pack shows with big crowds and like good for them. I don't want to sound like old and bitter. Like I wish I had that line, but like at the same time, I'm happy I didn't because there's a certain skills you acquire by having to go brick by brick, fan by fan. And I think it's important to, in a digital age, to hold on to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I hope any young listener there like hears that because one, I did like a small tour once. Like, it is fucking exhausting. So the fact that you work during the day and then performed at night, like, that's crazy to me. Like, good shit on that. First of all, like,
Appreciate it.
kudos to you. Like, that's important. And like, yeah, like, I think like I don't know. Also, there's something about like you can like pay for marketing or promo, but nothing's gonna be the person like someone discovering music. There's nothing still better than a friend going up to a friend and being like, "Hey, listen to this artist." Like that will stick with anything more than any Instagram or TikTok promo.
Bro, I've been blessed and I've had some really fucking good looks on the media side, right? But my favorite things ever. One of my good friends, I think he was in Seattle on business, and he said something along the lines of something about MC Bravado is my friend. Check this song out. He had met this guy, that he worked with. I guess it was like a company conference or whatever. And the guy was from the West Coast, I think Seattle or whatever. And he like showed my friend he was like, "Oh no, I got him on my playlist," and my friend was like, "Bullshit." And then he pulled out his Spotify like algorithmic, and I was on there. And I'm like, to me, like, A, props to my friend for starting the conversation, but B, like having proof of that kind of real traction, um, to where someone he had just met, was actively playing my shit and they were sharing that moment. Like that's way cooler to me than any like big look I've gotten, because that's just real people like enjoying and sharing it. And like that's what this is about at the end of the day.
100%. That says sick to also like get that confirmation. Sounds like a good friend. Shout out your friend for starting the conversation on that. That's
Yeah, he's a
great.
good guy.
Yeah, great answer. So now I kind of want to go more into like the mindset. So I saw you speak about the mindset you have while dealing with obstacles and frictions. And the quote from you that really stuck out to me was, "Someone has been here before and quit." Can you expand upon that?
Yeah. I think every time that you want to quit, it's an opportunity to level up, because just statistically, there's going to be a bunch of people that are having that moment and they're walking away. And you, by not walking away, are advancing and separating yourself from the competition, because there's just things we share as humans and human experiences that, okay, this is my limit, right? I'm at my limit. It's time to go. But really, what like the most successful people have in common is like that ability to push through that and to not quit. And so I think if you change your mindset to just like, this is an opportunity for me to go further, rather than like I need to walk away. Like I don't know. I think that enhances everything, because anytime I've been at that edge, it's always followed by like periods of like prosperity.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Um, just
100%.
get darkest before dawn, bumpiest before takeoff, whatever however you want to phrase it. It's a thing, and it's self belief and um, all that shit that a lot of people think is a corny quote, like whatever, but um, I don't know, man. That shit is like priceless. And if you can really program yourself that way, and remember that it doesn't happen in a day, look at Killer Mike, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
48, winning the Grammy. I don't know, you gotta really love it, man. Like if you don't really love it, if your intention is attention, like I don't think the universe is going to reward you long term for this shit. You might have a moment, but I think those that stay and like leave an impact, like their intention is right. Like they want the right things for the culture and for other people, and they know it's bigger than them. And I think like if you're really mindful about that shit and that's what you're putting out into the universe, then I do think you're rewarded for sticking around and continuing to do it.
100%. First of all, bars with the intention, attention line. Great line.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. And then, yeah, I think my roommate told me one thing that's, kind of like what you're saying is those that survive the longest in the game are the ones that win. That's like really all it is.
100%.
Exactly. And then kind of what you were saying, like turning tragedy to triumph, it always does follow kind of this prosperity after, the doubt. I identify with that as well. And then before we go back to the board, there was one more quote that I totally agreed with and I loved from you, which is, "Nothing beats the mindset of every day move the needle."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the other thing, is you aren't going to move mountains every day in your career. Like that's just not what's going to happen. You don't have control over that, but what you do have control over is doing something can't like, dude, every day of my life, I do something that advances my career.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be a social media post, it might be writing a verse, it might be working on something else, creative album art, whatever. And I'm not talking finishing the album art, I'm talking figuring out what theme you're going with, or like what you're calling this. Like someday that you might be able to put in an hour compared to the 8 hours the other day. But it's just like, even Sundays, dude, Sundays are my day off. Like I unplug on Sundays, but I write a little bit on Sundays usually, and that's how I advance on Sundays, because at the end of the day, like what I remind myself is the day I need to have a break from like the writing, Uh, and I don't write every day, but again, to advance the needle, I make sure I'm doing something every day. So Sundays is that day, but the day I need a break from everything, the writing, the creative part, the business part, then I'm like no longer really doing what I love. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm a firm believer in that because I know a lot of people that just stop, dude. Like they just stop for like a couple months at a time or however long at a time, and then they go back in, and I'm like, you know, the inertia is kind of like lost at that point, with what you had built up. So yeah, just fucking dude, if 5 minutes, 10 minutes, do something to be like, okay, I'm a little further along than I was yesterday. And I think if you do that for years, that it plus the intention thing that it starts to happen. And I have a long way to go still, like for sure. I know that, but I'm proud to be. This is year 6 of doing this full time for me. So like even that is try to smell the roses, once in a while.
Definitely, it's a blessing. 6 years is awesome to be able to do what you love, and like it's funny, like kind of like what you were illustrating was like there's a relationship between the quote that I just asked you in the first one. They kind of go hand in hand. And when I was working at this recruiting company, and the COO said something that I said that I firmly believe, which is similar to this, which is like just improve 1% a day, because that
Yeah.
compounds. That does, no matter how small. So totally agree with you, and we're definitely in lockstep with that. So awesome. Those are great answers. And before I dive into some more stuff with you, I'd love to go back to an album that you love, which is The Blueprint. So let's now go to the 3 versus the 6 matchup, which is a crazy matchup in my opinion, which is Heart of the City versus You Don't Know.
Yeah, that's like a which kid to kill kind of question.
Literally. It's crazy.
Uh, um,
I know. It's tough.
this is the hardest one. If it's there's a gun on my head, it's you don't know because that just like makes me want to tip a smart car over. Like it's so fucking hype. Uh, yeah, let's go with you don't know. That's really hard though, dude.
That's so tough.
That's a struggle.
I would agree with you. I think also, I don't know, I was listening to some of the songs obviously before this, and like going up and more than the Dow Jones. Your name, like your brain is now blown. Like the rhyme schemes on there are fucking sick, and like the word choices are so hard.
Yeah, he's like one of the thing that I always talk about with him is because my past life I was an English teacher, right? And
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot of like as a writer and early on in my career, I was more like this, but it's easy as a rapper to be like, what's the craziest thing I could do? And I think Jay-Z, writer wise, I'd kind of liken it to like Hemingway. Like Jay-Z is great at like putting shit together that like most people can understand, but then like layering the jewels in there, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and to me, that's mastery. Cause like if you could like put a verse that sounds simple or it is accessible to most people, but then like you have the entendres and the schemes that show you're as lyrical as anybody, and you're able to do that under the same record that also sells a bunch and can be played wherever, like that's next level. So like I think on this album it's like the perfect marriage of that kind of shit where the production is A1, like he's rapping at such a high level, but it's also in a catchy, commercially viable way. Like it's mastery. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that song's a great example. And the energy's crazy. And the remix is crazy with MLP too.
I actually haven't heard that. I gotta check that out.
Dude, check out the remix. The
Hundred
remix is
percent. It'll be on my list. Awesome. So You Don't Know. I mean, like, yeah, you're so right with this album. It's the full package. You Don't Know is going on through. Now let's go to the 4 and the 5, which is Girls, Girls, Girls versus Song Cry.
we got to go with one of the if Heart of the City doesn't advance, then Song Cry has to advance.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. Song Cry is beautiful, bro. So beautiful.
yeah, the feel definitely gives me the feels every time I listen to it. Like Girls is like cool what it is for what it is. Swagger is on 11, but yeah, Song Cry is one of those that kind of stays with you forever. So I go with that one.
What do you think is the second best, your second favorite Jay Z album?
Um, Probably Reasonable Doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it'd be Reasonable Doubt and then the Black Album and then I think American Gangster would be like right after that because that's unbelievable, and it was like a quote unquote. I get you can't even call it a movie soundtrack. I mean, that's kind of what it was supposed to be, but it's an album.
Hmm.
Yeah, those are my top four. But what about you?
Yeah, I think like realistically, there's like a holy trinity of Hope albums, which is Black Album, uh, Blueprint, and then Reasonable Doubt. I don't know. I think I kind of like go between. I would say probably Reasonable Doubt is always my one, but like Blueprint, it's the same. Like they're interchangeable to me, honestly. I would say Black Album's three, and then the other one's kind of just like they alter based on my mood.
I'm with you. I think that's a firm top three. I think all three have arguments as classics in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for me, like I think his best rapping was on Reasonable Doubt, but I think Blueprint marries that other stuff that we were talking about, where he's
Definitely.
like pop icon. This is a commercially viable hits, and but still rapping like the rent is due.
Exactly. I agree. And like, there's like a lot of power in that. Like, that's not fucking easy. You know what I mean? Like, that is not easy to put those all together.
Man, yeah, it's like fucking impossible
Yeah.
almost, which is why he is who he is.
Exactly. I think Kendrick is like someone that does that really well as well. Where like they're able to like kind of cross over, but still have like those themes really strong.
Bro, fucking G, I'm plugging my phone in really quick so I don't get lost on you.
You're good. You're good.
Um, hold on, sorry.
You're
This is
totally
Bush League
fine.
on
No,
my
you're
part.
fine. Don't. We can edit it, dude. It's fine. You're
All
killing the interview. You're doing a good job.
right, we're back already.
Perfect.
Um,
Yeah. So we were just talking about like just the marriage of all the different aspects of Blueprint, why it's amazing. But let's now talk. We're talking about an amazing album. Let's go back to an amazing artist, which is you. And I really want to commend you on your work with the nonprofit organization Beats Not Bullets, which is focused on teaching students the ins and out of the music industry, from performing to the technical side, even networking. How fulfilling was receiving the 2022 South by Southwest Community Service Award? And do you have any success stories of students you would like to share?
yeah, man. First of all, shout out to our co-founder and director, Kevin Ogun Beasley. He is like really a superhero in Baltimore City. He's an amazing rapper in his own right, but he's quote unquote retired. I try to shit talk and bait him, into like, oh, you're afraid to get cooked. That's why you won't do the record. Like I try all the reverse psychology, but it
Yeah.
doesn't work. But that's his baby more than anything else, and I was fortunate enough to like having started at South by, my first year at South by was 2017. And through the years going, I was able to accumulate enough connections to get a panel on the during the EDU portion and to be one of the only featured musical acts during the EDU portion. And then we were at Music Week as well. But through all of that, it got us enough on the radar of the festival to where they deemed us one of the best, community service organizations in the country, which speaks for itself, man. And I started as a, um, instructor, and then I moved up to program coordinator and handle a lot of admin stuff with just how the career has elevated. It's kind of hard for me to commit to being, at the schools as much. So I handle more behind the scenes stuff, but I love the organization, what it means for Baltimore. We have a lot of at-risk youth in our city who, you know, don't necessarily have the structure and the resources they need to succeed. And the program does a great job of that. And it's not just what happens in the schools, it's the fact that the program, if a kid graduates from the program but still needs studio time, like we find money in the budget for that. If they need a music video to shoot, we find money in the budget for that. And really, the icing on the cake coming here is, you know, I've got like an upcoming single coming with Empire Distributing, and it's the first time like I'm working with a major in any capacity, but we're also with our situation able to, make some plays for the kids to be able to distribute some stuff through a major label, which is kind of one of the things in our next chapter to look out for.
Wow.
Um, it's exciting, man. Yeah, and but beyond that, I mean, we had a student who graduated. So we do our program in the schools where it's like after school, but then over the summer we kind of have like the Navy SEAL version of that, where like the standout kids get to record at a lineup room studio, which is where I work out of my business partner and creative partner owns it. And it's Saturday mornings, and kind of the best of the best come to that. And we had one student, she's finishing up college now, but she started her own organization already. Her name's Tay Bands. Shout out Tay Bands. But like, she took what we did and literally applied it, and has started a youth concert series that's making waves like all over the city and getting kids paid to perform. And like, she's a fucking beast, bro. She's a beast. And for her to come from the program only a couple years ago to have started her own organization where she's helping other kids, and she's like still like fucking 21, or something. Fucking remarkable, dude. At 21, I was like guzzling Four Locos and
Same.
trying not to piss myself. So to see that is cool, man.
Dude, yeah, seriously. First of all, amazing organization with such a, you know, just powerful kind of intention, as we're talking about intention. And also, it's kind of like the Pac quote, like, might not change the world, but you plant the seed. Like, you planted the seed in her mind to like go out and help something beyond herself and be a part of something beyond herself. So really want to commend you and the entire organization. That seems like a really powerful and just positive thing that you guys are doing. So kudos to that.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, we're out there. We're still growing. We want to continue to do stuff outside of Baltimore too. That's kind of like I keep us in the schools, but another one of my missions is to like help with the us doing more stuff like we did at South by Southwest. Like, we were able to take a student who had never really like left the area and put him on a plane, and he got to perform with me
Wow.
at South by. So we want to do stuff like that, like more stuff like that. But as you know, I mean, on the business side, it's tough to scale that kind of thing, and there's a
Hmm.
lot that goes into it. But we're working on it. We're going to keep doing it, and you'll definitely continue to see Beats Not Bullets. It's far from peaked, in my opinion.
Definitely. Just keep moving the needle every day. That's all you guys
Yes,
need to
sir.
do. And now I want to, you said in a previous interview something that I really agree with, but I want to kind of discuss it, which is like, you touched on the saturation of the music business due to the technological ease of making music. You stated the lack of a real commitment. There's like a lack of real commitment required with regards to investing, and fans become artists. I think the fans become artists was very true. And the market is just flooded with mostly, people that are not up to par. Do you see that as a reason why labels and artists are having trouble making slash becoming true superstars? Like, they're struggling to break artists right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think sifting through that stuff is a challenge. And it's a catch 22 because, like, I'm happy that there are artists that otherwise wouldn't get seen and heard that by way of something they did on their phone, that's amazing that they're able to live their dreams. Like, some of the elitist barriers that were there before are gone,
Mm-hmm.
and there's positives to that. But there's also positives to tastemakers that know what they're doing, and positives, to people who are like purveyors of the culture that were like, this has to be dope, or like, this person has to have put in their work. I mean, I think it's weird. I'm not going to name names, but I think it's weird to see certain DJs that were once kind of like bastions of like lyricism with like, I'm going to put on the people that have put the work in, who are now pushing, you know, people that don't write their stuff or that are totally just hollow as artists and performers, and they'll be pushing them on their platform. That shit is weird. And I do think it makes it more difficult. But again, I do also recognize the pros of like some really dope people who don't necessarily have the money or the marketing budget that get hot off making great art. Like, I'm happy for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not quite just it can be easy to sound like the old man yelling at the sky when it comes to that kind of shit, but I'm kind of in between. I mean, I still, a lot of my students, I'll connect with them on stuff like that. But it's going, even circling back to basketball, sometimes when I'm debating with this new generation, uh, about like, they'll be like, oh, so and so scored 60. I'm like, fucking everybody's scoring 60
There's
now.
no
And
hand checking.
yeah, like, I'll get you 25 on a good night, but like, there's like too much of that. There's so much of that, and I'll explain. and like it'll get over simplified. The old heads will oversimplify it, but then like some of the kids, they won't have an understanding of like who these players were. Um, and I think it's the same in hip hop where like before, at least when I started, you had to at least show that you understood the culture and had some kind of reverence for it. And I think that now, I mean, there were people when Killer Mike won the Grammy who were like bragging that they didn't know who he was. Like, oh no, nobody ever said play that Killer Mike. Like, how did he win? And I'm just like that. If you're saying you're an artist or a fan of hip hop and you're like publicly broadcasting that you've never listened to Killer Mike, I don't think that's the best look for you, bro.
I agree. Not even Run the Jewels. Like, come on.
Right. Yeah. Run the Jewels, like all the stuff he did, Dungeon Family, Outcast, like,
Yeah.
um, so I don't know, like it's a weird time, for sure. But there's a, like every time in history, especially US history, like if you're agile and you go with the wave where it fits you and you're not just totally like because there's a lot of people in my class that they're like, oh, I'm not putting anything into streaming because they don't pay enough. And I'm like, well, that's the myopic view of streaming because yeah, they might pay you red cents on the dollar, but you don't need to look at streaming as a paycheck at first. You need to look at streaming as a new music discovery tool, a way to
Literally.
make new fans, an analytical tool that you want to book a show in Phoenix, Arizona, you could at least show that promoter like I have this amount of fans in that area who engage with my stuff and yada yada, and you're not going blind and like losing money on the show and looking like a goofball because you said you could do it and then nobody comes out. Like you've got to use it to your advantage, and if you don't try and you just stay off of all of that, it's not a winning formula at all.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you just said, especially like, I don't know, there's like some, and I think that sometimes like the reason why we might not be having like this birth of like superstars and stuff is because there's so much, it's so diluted, it's so saturated right now with art and music that like people just forget about people. Like, and the real way to do it is like kind of like what you're saying, like be on the platforms that people actually care about, interact with people, interact with fans, and like put in that work. So if someone's like, oh, I don't want to be on TikTok or YouTube Shorts, or like I don't want to post or invest in streaming, like, those are like the ways to market your music. It's discovery. You're right. Totally agree.
That's the big thing, man. Is like at least use it to your advantage because this is a cool time for that. Like if you do some of the in-platform stuff on Spotify, for example, even if your budget's not that crazy, but you piece together a couple $100 to do something like that, like you can target people that like the stuff you like that you're trying to make, and you can make random new fans, and they might DM you on IG and say, I love that. And then you can say, well, can I have your email for my newsletter? And they say, sure. And then you organize that based on where they are regionally. And then when you do go to Phoenix, Arizona, there's 25 people that you could send a DM to and say, come out. And if 15 of them come out and bring a friend, you got 30 people. And if you put a couple openers who are worth their weight on the show, even if it's not the craziest show, all of a sudden you got 75 to 100 out on a Wednesday in Phoenix, Arizona, which is pretty fucking cool.
Definitely
So,
really cool. That's
you know,
awesome. Yeah, it's great advice too for anyone listening, like any artists and creatives. Like that's the mindset that you have. Like just do it and like put yourself out there and put in the work. Let's now move back to we were just talking about Lupe. Let's talk about another artist you love, which is Jay-Z, The Blueprint. We're doing the semifinals, guys, which is going to be Renegade versus Song Cry.
give me Renegade again. One thing I
Boom.
want to add about Renegade, great M verse, but a lot of people like they do. It is this foregone conclusion for a lot of people that M smoked J, and I don't necessarily agree. I think kind of like Brooklyn's Finest with him and Biggie. I feel like it's so close
Mm.
on that record. I feel like Jay's verses are really underrated, but um, Yeah, really peak J and otherworldly M feature Renegade.
Yeah, I mean, like I agree. Like he wasn't cooked that badly. It's not as far away as people think. Um,
No, yeah, exactly. It's a 10-9 round, not a 10-8 round, you
yeah,
know?
I agree with you on that. Awesome, Renegade going to the finals. Now let's go Takeover versus You Don't Know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Takeover.
Ooh, okay. Break it down for me. What was the thought process between the two for you?
Um, Same kind of thing with just I love diss records. I mean, I started rapping as a freestyle kind of battle dude. So I gravitate towards quality diss records, and I just think that's one of the best ones. So um, off the strength of that, it would get to the and it's one of my favorite Kanye beats ever. Like you said, a Door sample. I fuck with Jim Morrison. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that collectively does it.
Yeah, it's got the whole package, and I don't know his delivery when he's like, "God, MC, me, Jehovah," is like, dude. When I hear that, I'm like, "Oh fuck, he's going off right now. He's about to go
Yeah,
in."
his conviction, man. You definitely buy what he's selling at
Yeah,
all times, so it makes sense.
100%. Well, awesome, man. Before we go to the finals, I want to do one thing. So, it's kind of like the part of the interview where we kind of do like explain that tweet. So I went on your Twitter and I found some like fun stuff that you
Oh
were
shit.
tweeting. Yeah, nothing crazy, I promise, nothing crazy, but just like some fun.
There are some that are fucking crazy, so I'm
Yeah,
happy you're not putting me on the spot like that.
no, I would never do it to you. This one was so funny and it's so true, and I've always thought this. Shout out rappers saying shit is light or a throwaway after they spit a verse, knowing goddamn well is the best they got currently. That's so true, dude.
Dude, that drives me nuts sometimes because
Same.
I believe that like just it's okay if that was the best your phone or notebook had to offer at the time. You don't have to like do the whole I was talking about the too cool thing before. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like that kind of shit. And then there's also like I saw a dude recently and he was just like, "Oh, if I wanted to rap like Kendrick Lamar, like I could, but like I do this instead to like make it." Fuck out of here,
No
bro.
way. Yeah.
You can't rap like you don't rap like Kendrick because you fucking can't. Shut up. Like I like what? You don't have the fucking breath control. I've listened to your shit. Like shut up.
I love that.
You know, I that fires me up because just be yourself.
Yeah.
Be yourself. You know,
Yeah.
like I started talking to rappers like the uncle that says I'll still bust your ass on one on a family outing. I'm just like, come on, man.
But the difference
I don't
is,
know who you're lying to. You're not gonna lie to me because I can see through that shit. And yeah, that's not light. That's not a throwaway. That's your best shit, and
yeah.
that's okay.
It's so funny. It's just like it's such a cliche in hip hop. I totally agree. Next one. This isn't too much. I need to bring this up because I've actually been thinking this for a long time, and I'm finally glad someone said it. You know, like there's a whole subgenre of rappers with like the flippity dippity rap that need to be stopped, and like I've been wanting to put that into words for so long. But you're right. It's just as bad as mumble rap, and it doesn't mean anything.
Dude, 1,000%. It's and there's like a whole there really is a whole subgenre of those
Whole
kind of rappers and their fans who are like will tell you it's the most amazing thing and it's utter bullshit. Like they're cosplaying a lot of them in my opinion. Like they
Mm-hmm.
can do an effective imitation of like what the mechanics of rapping is. But there's like no they're literally saying absolutely they hit them with the rhythm
Literally, dude. It's just like triplets and
into a
like,
fucking wall.
dude, it's wild. I remember there was I don't know if you remember this thing. There was this song called "The Death of Mumble Rap" with like Nah or Gone, Mac Lethal, Futuristic, who I actually think is dope. And then I think Crypt. Like it was just like the irony of it was like Anthony Fantano did a breakdown of it. You should watch it. It's so funny.
Oh, I fuck with Fantano. Yeah, I do need to watch that. What he's kind of clowning it, I guess.
Well, yeah, because they're basically being like, "Where's Little Pump? I want to eat him," and then they're rapping and they're not saying anything either, and it's just like the irony is so funny.
Yeah, and you know what, man? Like I will shit on both on occasion, but like to me with like what some of these kids are doing with like because someone the other day on Twitter told me well, mumble rap's not even really a thing. It's a made up blah blah blah. I'm like, no, like there are artists that do it as a like chosen aesthetic.
Definitely.
Um, and I think for some of them, like A, some of them are dope at it, but B, like, um, it is a like almost reminds me of a punk rock
Mm-hmm.
where they're doing something that's like, I know you don't get it, fuck you, and like that's a thing. And in some ways, like gun to my head, dude, gun to my head, I'd probably rather listen to a middle of the road mumble rapper over a middle of the road hippity dippity flippity
Dude, I
rapper.
took the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say the exact same thing because, like, at least like with the mumble rap, dude, the instrumentals are fucking so sick, and like, it's you're right where it's like they're just focused on the melodies, and like that's also a
Yeah.
skill. Like they're making melodies with their voices, and like although the lyrics might not be super coherent, like that's still really impressive. So I totally agree with you on that. I'm just wanting you really illustrated that when I was like I've been thinking that in my head for a while, and like I'm happy that I saw your tweet with that. And then last tweet, and this because I'm a really big football fan. I'm a big fantasy football fan, so I saw you tweet this, and it was and with the firing of Arthur Smith and the impending signing of a QB not named Desmond, you can talk me into drafting Kyle Pitts again.
I draft Kyle Pitts every year.
Dude, I mean, it always seems like a good pick.
He's a freak.
Dude, he's so
And his
yeah.
Yeah, man. In his first year, he had that yardage record, or he had crazy yardage, and the touchdowns didn't happen. And with fantasy, like there's like positive touchdown regression usually goes down, but it didn't. And yeah, I just feel like if you have Drake, dude, Drake, London, Kyle Pitts, and then even Bijan as a receiver, how do you fuck that up?
Oh, Arthur Smith sucks. I had Bijan this year. I hate Arthur Smith. I'm sorry, and I don't say that word a lot, but I hate Arthur Smith.
Or will you draft? Because I'm being the freak that I am. I'm already looking at like next year's,
I love that.
projection, and like it's tough, bro. Right? Because you got your consensus CMC, right, and then you've
Hmm.
got like your block of like those kind of can't miss receivers from like Jefferson to Lamb to Sun God, Tyreek Chase, like those guys.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like you got to draft those guys, but I feel like the first guy to pick after that block of receivers really comes down to like Bijan or Brees Hall, or you could even talk yourself into Bijan or Brees Hall over some of those receivers if you're like, I don't know, bro. Like I see a world where Bijan unleashed finishes as the number one overall player
I
next year.
agree. And then what do you think about? I was thinking Jameer Gibbs too.
Bro, I did draft him in a PPR.
He's crazy.
Unbelievable.
He's
And
so
he's
good.
another one. He's
Yeah.
another one. All they're going to say about him, what they say about him is they're like, well, if he's still sharing with Montgomery or
Yeah.
whatever, I'm like, but and the OC being out or whatever, but like, he's so unbelievable. I would I think talent trumps Ken Trump's situation. Like the example I use, like Kyron Williams is had a great season, right? Um, had a great season, but there are people in mock drafts I see for next year that are taking Kyron Williams over Gibbs. I would never do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm a Rams fan, so like I think it's Sean McVay's a genius and can like make a running back good, except for Cam Akers
Facts, bro.
who
I
fumbles the
had
ball.
fucking Cam Akers too, two
He
years in a row.
fumbles the ball. Well, yeah, I love that you love fantasy football too. I'm obsessed with it. So fun. Awesome, man. Really, thank you for doing those tweets. That was fun. And finally, let's go to the finals of MC Bravado's Vibe Call West bracket. We have Renegade versus Takeover. What will it be?
Let's see, man.
It's tough.
I got to go with Renegade just because I'm getting two of my favorite MCs.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I would say it's also the one I go back to the most. It's just a god tier rapping back and forth, two totally different styles. Fucking 11 out of 10 production.
Hmm.
Um, and rap's a competitive sport, so you want to see two of the best slugging it out. And I don't care what anybody says; they're obviously trying to kill each other. So Um, yeah, I live for that. And that was also when M was like, people, I don't know, you've noticed that, I'm sure. There's a lot of like retroactive teardowns that happen with Eminem where people
Definitely.
are like, you know what I mean? Where people are like, just trying to clown him. And a lot of his newer stuff, dude, I don't like, I'll be honest about it. I think a little, it's really high level rapping, but it's like too technical, like to where it sounds a lot of the feeling that he had when it's fucked up to say, but it was like when he had the drug issues and his life was a little in shambles. It was like he was really going through it. And you felt that in the records. And now that life, I think, is kind of good for him and he's sober and he's kind of away from it all. I don't think he has much to go with. And I think you can hear it. But regardless of what you think of Eminem now, I think, again, some of these kids that are commenting on him or feel the way that they feel, they don't know what it was like in that early 2000s time period where like nobody wanted to fucking see that guy on a record. Like that guy at that time was so unfuckable. So to have two unfuckable top 10 ever rappers at the peak of their powers over the production of one of the best producers ever at the peak of his powers. Eh.
Yeah. I mean, first, yeah. So there's two things. First, I remember like Chris Rock was like at the Grammys and was like, nobody wants to diss Eminem because Eminem's so crazy that he'll make a diss record about his own mama. It's like no one wanted to fuck with him back then. So true. And then speaking about the when you say like the new Eminem, the first thing that comes to my mind is like that's an awfully hot coffee pot. Should I drop it on Donald Trump? Probably not. I'm like, dude, that's crazy. Like that's I agree why I can see why some people don't love that. But Eminem is a goat, big fan of him, and like I just think that's a funny line that when he says that.
Yeah, that
That entire
that line
freestyle.
is is not fucking his finest moment, and that's also the era where we live in, right? Where he has such a body of work, but it's like that 20-second, 15-second clip just gets like thrown everywhere.
It gets a meme to death. That's what you
Hmm.
see. But yeah, well, man, thank you so much for doing, the bracket and answering all my questions. I want to open it up to you, MC Bravado, and kind of let you plug anything, talk about what you're working on. Just, the floor is yours.
Sure. So 2024, again, keep an eye on Beats Not Bullets. We have a lot of great shit coming. I'm gonna be giving people at least a single a month throughout the year. Again, I have a record called Belief that is coming soon. It's looking like it's going to be April at this point. I thought it was going to be late March, but I think it's going to be April, and that's my debut with Empire on the distribution side. It is, I can say with everything I got, Belief is definitely my best record ever. Um, and it's a lot of what we were talking about, where I think I'm rapping at a high level, but it's commercially viable, it's relatable, it's digestible, but the jewels are there. Great production, like I fucking love it. I think everyone's gonna love it. And then after that, I've got a album coming with Stu Bangers, who is one of my favorite producers. So that's gonna have some cool features and stuff on it. And we're just gonna keep going, man. I anticipate 2024 being a leap year. But even if it's not, day by day, move the needle. On we rock. So thank you for having me. And I look forward to continuing our conversations about fantasy football and other shit.
100%, man. Yeah, I got you. If any questions, I'll definitely hit you with some, considering you're doing brackets already. I love that. Yeah, man. So for everyone listening, just want to say, incredible artist, incredible person making an impact in his community, making an impact on, just, young adults, people that are about to, become a part of this new world. So I'm happy that you're investing in them. Incredible high level rapping. Please check out his freestyle and rap radar over John P's Caddy. Any of his music, look out for Belief that's coming out hopefully in April. And yeah, man, thank you so much for coming on, and just appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I'll make sure when I'm out west too that I say hello and I let you guys know beforehand and all that good shit.
Please, yeah, I'd love to have you in the studio. Awesome, guys. So, really quick, MC Bravado, what are all your handles? Where can people find you?
So yeah, no champagne poppy over here, bro. Not that famous. It's just at MC Bravado MC Bravado everywhere.
Boom.
It's easy to.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another amazing episode. Just want to say, I hope you guys have a great day, and Vibe Call West Radio episode done.